Hello, boys and girls. We're going to start our next art project. Today, while I'm filming, it is the first day of fall in 2020. So I'm thinking a lot about harvest, and I know you're going to talk about that in your classroom, your kindergarten classroom, harvesting all the fruits and vegetables from the garden at this time of the year. Everybody's bringing everything in before the frost comes, making sure they get all the last goodness out of their garden and prepping it to have some during the fall and the winter months. So we're going to use that idea for our art project. And we're going to go to our artist toolkit and let's take a look. We're still talking about our elements of art. And we've done already some work with line and shape. So we're going to take a look at color today. Let's see. Yep, there it is. Color is in our toolkit. So that's what we're going to use to focus on for our art project today. I'm going to set this down. Let's see. Put this up here so I can see it. Actually, I'm going to set it up there. Okay, so color. All right, I've got my definition here. Oh, look at that. It's what an eye sees when light is reflected. An element of art with three properties. So it has hue, which is the name of the color, intensity, which is how bright or dull it is, and the value, whether it's light or dark. Pretty cool. We're going to learn about color. All right. We're going to learn the basic three colors, the main three colors that you need to mix all the other colors in the rainbow. Those are called primary colors. See if you can say that. Yep, primary colors. They are yellow, red, and blue. And they're on my sign here. You can see them. You can use these three colors to mix all the other colors. Orange, green, purple, brown. You can use these to mix that. So primary, they are red, blue, and yellow. Remember that. Just three. So we're going to use those in creating our artwork today. All right. So we have color. And the three primary colors are what we're focusing on. All right, so we're talking about harvest, and we're going to use that idea to create what we call a still life. Let's take a look at what a still life is. Let me move these out of the way. I'll put these over here. I got so much to show you. I'm running out of space. All right. So back here, I put together a collection of some examples of still life. All right. So this is Rachel Ruish, and you can see hers is flowers in a vase. This is Claude Monet. He's got fruit and plates up here. This is one I did. You can see it's got a bottle and a cup, a book, and fruit. It's got lots of objects in there. Here's another one I did, with a glass and a bottle and a flower at the bottom. These are all examples of what we call still life, meaning they're objects from real life, but they're still. They don't move, so they're not alive. Flowers were once alive, obviously, but they're cut. They don't move like an animal would move. And they're placed usually on a tabletop, on a tray, on a stool, something. And a lot of times they will have fabric draped in the picture. So it's just trying to use your skill to recreate what you see. So we're going to use the fruits and vegetables that are being harvested in at this time of year to create our own version of a still life. Okay. So we've got that. Let's talk about how we're going to make this. First, we need to know how to mix our colors, because here's what you're going to be painting today. This is going to be 2 days to do this project. So today we're going to do the painting, and then the next time you have art, we'll put together the basket that the fruit's going to go in. We got to let this dry before we can cut it out. So we have things like an apple, a pear, some corn, and some grapes, and they're all going to fit in our basket in our still life. Apples come in 3 main colors: red, yellow, and green. Now red and yellow are pretty easy because they're part of our primary colors. But if you wanted to make a green apple, you need to know how to make that color. So I'm going to show you. Pears could be yellow or green, so you might need green for that. Grapes could be green or purple, so I'm going to show you how to mix purple. Corn is generally yellow, but this time of year people might have what they call Indian corn, which is the different colored corn. So there could be orange in that. So you might need to know how to mix orange if that's what you want to paint yours. So first we're going to talk about how to mix those primary colors to make what you want. So here I've got a picture of primary colors. And this is what we call a color wheel. So I have the 3 primaries: the red, the yellow, and the blue. Now let's see what happens when we mix our red and our yellow together, and we're going to put that here. Now you've already talked a little bit about color when we looked at the story Mouse Paint. You remember the mice and how they danced in the paint? What happened when the mice had yellow? The mouse stepped in yellow, I think, and then he danced around in a red puddle. What happened to that? Wonder what's going to happen here. So I've got my paints here, my temper cakes. I've got a bottle and some water. So I'm going to start with some yellow. I'm going to get my brush wet, gently stir it. I'm not going to press my brush down into the paint, just gently stir it, get a little yellow on my brush, and I'm going to paint this pie piece in between here. It's dripping because it's on the board, but if it were on a table, it wouldn't do that. All right. Now, while it's still wet, I'm going to rinse my brush, and I'm going to just barely tip it in some red, just a little, and I'm going to mix it in with my yellow here. And what's going to happen when I mix that in with my yellow? That's going to turn orange. Can you kind of see that? I hope you can see that on the camera. It's going to turn orange. So red and yellow make orange. Let me grab a paper towel, clean that up. All right, let's see here. There we go. Now, I can still see my yellow there. Okay, now, let's see what happens when we mix our yellow and our blue. What happened with the blue mouse when he danced around in the yellow paint? What happened to his feet? Do you remember? So I'm going to start again with yellow. It's best to start with the lightest color because you can always get darker. It's hard to get lighter. It takes a lot more paint. So, I'm going to paint the yellow first. I'm going to dip my brush just a little bit. I'm going to dry a little bit. Dip it into some blue. Mix that in with my yellow on the paper. And you see what's happening? It's turning green. Add a little yellow there. Oh, so blue and yellow make green. We got one more. Let's see what happens when we mix our red and our blue. So I'm going to start with some red paint. I'm going to put my paper towel here to keep it from dripping. So there's some red. Okay. Now I'm gonna rinse my brush, dip it into some blue. Let's see what happens here. Oh, I'm making purple. So red and blue make purple. That's pretty cool. All right, so now all those colors we talked about for painting our fruit, the possibilities, are all on our color wheel. Now we know how to make them. So I'm going to put this up top so I can see that and use it while I'm painting my fruits and vegetables. Now, everybody's going to get a messy mat to paint on. And yes, there's paint all over this because other kids have used this before and we've cleaned it off, but some of the paint sticks. But on your messy mat is a color wheel to help you remember how to mix colors. And when you're doing this lesson in class, I will have a color wheel posted up on the board so you can still see that. So on our messy mat, on our table, we're going to paint our fruit today. All right, let me find my good magnet here, one of the stronger ones. Okay, probably going to get another one. So, I think I'm going to do a red apple. So I'm not going to do anything crazy with that. I don't need to mix any colors for that because I have red, yellow, and blue in my palette. You're going to use Temper Cakes, which is what I have on my tray here with my cup of water. And I've already got some water in here, but when you get yours, they will be dry. So you'll have to dip your brush into some water and stir it up a little bit into your paint. I've already been painting and practicing a little this morning, so mine's already wet, but you'll need to add water to yours with your brush. So there's my red. I'm going to gently paint my apple. Okay, now, it's okay if we paint outside of the lines a little bit because we're going to cut these out later. Still be careful, do your best work. But if you mess up, like example, if you accidentally go outside the lines, it's okay. We're going to cut that off later. And rinse my brush. Now, the leaf, though, is green. So let's practice painting our green, mixing our green. You can do that on the paper, not in the palette. So first we start with yellow. Now I'm going to rinse my brush, tip it in some blue, and paint over it so it turns. You can see the green on my paper. It's going to be green now. Pretty cool, huh? All right, so my pear I'm going to make green. So I'm going to use my yellow. Notice I'm just barely touching the page with my brush. I'm not pressing down and scrubbing it. We don't want to do that because it'll mess up the hairs. It could tear them out. We don't want to hurt our brush. I'm going to rinse my brush, dip a little in the blue. Mix your blue with your yellow and it's going to turn it green. Now, you do have, in the Temper Cakes here, you do have a green. So you don't necessarily have to mix it, but I still want you to see how to use your colors to mix green if you don't. I'm going to add a little bit of that green in with that pear there. All right. So I got a nice looking apple and a nice looking pear. I'm going to make my corn orange so you can see how to mix that on the paper. So, I'll start with my yellow. Paint the corn. While it's still wet, rinse my brush, dip it in the red, mix it in with my yellow. Just gently, barely tickling the page with my brush. And now I have orange corn. Now you could go in after your paint's kind of wet. I'm going to dry my brush a little bit. And I'm going to dip my brush into some yellow And I'm going to tap some of these. Make them yellow, and I might go in, clean my brush, get just some plain red and make some of them red. So you see a variation of color. You can do it any way you like. Alright, the grapes are the last thing. We need purple. So I'm going to start with my red. I'm going to paint these red. Dip my brush and wash it. Dip in my blue. Mix it in. And now I've got purple grapes. Okay. Wash my brush. Make sure that you paint the greenery on your fruits and vegetables, your leaves and things. You want to make sure you get that in there too. Okay? Forgot the stem on my apple. Okay. Everything's painted. This is all you do for the first day. This goes in the drying rack. Okay? Just like this. Leave it on your mat. Slide it into a shelf in the drying rack to dry. And next week, we'll talk about adding our basket and adding some details to our fruit. Hello again, I'm back. It's time for part 2 of our multimedia art fruit basket lesson. We talked about harvesting, we talked about it being fall now, we talked about color and primary colors, which are red, blue, and yellow, and we used our color wheel to paint our fruits and vegetables for our still life. Remember we talked about still life, things that don't move, that are set up in a scene for us to draw or paint from. So we've got our fruit ready, and I'm gonna add some detail to this. So everything's nicely painted, but we want to make our fruit look shiny. You know how in the store you walk by and the apples are nice and shiny, or the pears are nice and shiny, and the bright light from above can make it look like there's little white spots, like where the light reflects off of the surface there, so it makes it look really good and enticing to eat. So we're going to do that. And the way that you're going to do that is you're going to take your crayons. We're going to take a white crayon, and on the same side of every fruit, so I'm going to do the top left here, I'm just going to put a little, almost like a letter C, on the top of that fruit. I'm going to do it again on the pear. I'm going to do a little one on the corn. And then I'm going to do a few of my grapes here. Okay? And I don't know if you can see that very well on the camera. I'll hold that up a little closer. So hopefully you can see the little C's of white that I put on our fruits. Okay. After you've added what we call highlights to our picture, you're going to cut out your 4 fruits and vegetables here. So I've got mine cut out, nice and neat. Took my time. Okay. Got all 4 of them here, and you can see I have my highlights on there ready to go. Got my background color. Everybody will get a sheet of construction paper. Now's when you're going to need your glue stick. Now, you're also going to get this trapezoid shape that we're going to use for our basket. So this is going to be on the bottom for our fruit to sit in. So we want all our fruit to be lined up in the middle of our page. Now, I'm going to start, you can start with any one of them you want, but you're going to flip your fruit over and put the glue on your fruit, not smear it all over your page and make it sticky and gooey all over and waste your glue. You're just going to put it on the back of your fruit. Put it kind of to the middle of the page. And press gently with your fingers, like this, so it will stick nicely. And you're going to do what we call overlapping. So, when we put in another fruit, remember I'm putting the glue on the back of my vegetable, I'm going to overlap it a little bit so it looks like one is in front of the other. That creates depth and the illusion that it's 3D. Alright, I'm going to add, put my glue on the back of my fruit. Okay, here's my grapes. Okay, actually I'm going to lay them down like this, I think. And I'm going to I got one more. Now the great thing about using a glue stick while you're working on this is if you just change your mind, decide you want to move something, you can. I'm going to put this behind my grapes here. So I could lift my grapes up and put that in. Behind it like that. Now I've got them all layered here. Now my basket will fit nicely over top of the bottom like this. So again, put your glue on the back of your paper, right here. It's going to be your basket, your object. Place it just over top, just overlap slightly. Press that down onto your paper. Now, we want to make it look even more like a basket. So, you can pull out any color you like. You could do brown or black or white. Maybe I'll do both. Or a mixture of some colors here. I'm going to start with white, and I'm going to make a cross-hatching design. So I'm going to do some lines at an angle this way. Then I'm going to go back and cross back over them. That again is going to make my basket look three-dimensional, like it has more depth. That's with white. Let's see here. I've got a brown background, so I don't think I have black in here right now. Purple will work. Alright, so maybe you want a darker color instead of white. And I'm going to cross over that again. And now my still life needs one more thing. I want to make it look like it's sitting on a table, so I need a line behind here to create the end of my table and separate it from my background. So I'm going to draw a line that goes across here like this. So now it looks like my bowl of fruit is sitting on a tabletop. And your still life is finished. Wasn't that fun? You got to do painting and highlighting and collaging. That's what we do when we cut things out and glue them together. And you got to make a still life. So much in one little piece of art. Happy art making. I hope you enjoyed this.